There's big news, to do with the CEO of Sega. And the big news is, during a Frontiers interview, he actually said Sonic Adventure, continuing the Sonic Adventure series. And what does that mean? Sonic Adventure 3. That means we get Sonic Adventure 3. So that means there could be a high possibility, now, because he did say it. He also said he's not too sure on what his next Sonic game would be. A lot are actually speculating it could be Sonic Adventure 3. Because the hype right now is so high. Everyone is expecting it now, more than ever because of that. So that makes me happy. It makes me think, how would they do it exactly, with the current Sonic team? Because the current Sonic team, I'm a bit skeptical because they might ruin the game. So I think, there'll be hub worlds in the third one. That means they could be combining 1 and 2 in a way. So that means you would actually have this big, massive world or something, and you would have all these levels, you'd have these hubs and such, you'd have these actual boss fights and such, where you travel around, which I think could be a possibility, I think. Something like that. Like, traveling to, this stage, to that stage, to this stage. I think a plane might be a good idea. I think you might be able to travel by plane or something like that, to travel to that location, which I think could be Sonic Adventure 3. I also think Silver the Hedgehog will be in the third game. Also, Shadow could be in it too. So the reason I think Shadow would be in it is because he already was in Sonic Adventure 2. So most likely he'd be in Sonic Adventure 3 because since Silver is one of those characters that connects sort of with Shadow in a way, that is a great chemistry right there. Because the last game we had Silver was, the one that was basically so close to the Adventure series was 06. Yeah, 06 was so close to the Adventure series, so that's why I link Silver to that one. That's why I link them all together, so that means we could be getting that game. So we also could see the return of, Amy and so on. So that means more characters, and such. Tails would be coming back, I think, probably with more upgrades. Rouge might be coming back as a playable character as well, because we have Knuckles already, so it would make a good chemistry because Knuckles is a treasure hunter, and I actually love the treasure hunting mechanics. So apparently Rouge actually countering Knuckles with her types of treasure hunting actually always works, but with a bit of a kick to it. Shadow in 06, where he actually had a mission and he had to work on getting rid of things in the area and such. So sort of similar like that, where Shadow's riding a vehicle or something like that, or actually using his abilities as well. But different than what Shadow the Hedgehog went through. You know what I mean? But a bit more with a kick, because 06 is an example of that because it's big and you had to work out how to do shit as Shadow. Which is actually the type that could be Shadow's sort of levels, where it's completely massive and such. Same with Rouge, where you had to do something in order to move forward. So Rouge actually did that in 06. So similar like that. So Rouge would be based on stealth. Shadow would be basically to do with weaponry and stuff like that, depending on what he gets and whatever, but in a good way. So Tails, I reckon, would be more of different mechanics. I think that would be a good idea, flying, using his tornado in fighting mode, or even actually using his tornado during a flying boss fight, like when he's flying in the air with the tornado, like Sonic Adventure 1 when he's using it in there, and the fight with the fighting style tornado when he's actually fighting Eggman in Sonic Adventure 2. So it's a good idea to mix, all that up. So like Tails, sometimes does this in some scenes or something like during boss fights, and sometimes he does this and then sometimes he does that. You know what I mean? And with Sonic, it's just the simple go through the stage stuff to like get to the end. Now, I'm actually hoping I do not want Big at all. So I'm hoping Big doesn't return as a playable character, because if he does, I'm gonna completely lose it. Because the reason I don't like Big showing up, because we all know Sonic Adventure 1, it was worse with him, because the reason it was worse with Big is because constant fishing. Yeah. Few levels felt like a really, really long time of non-stop, but fishing. I actually hated Big's levels the most in Sonic Adventure 1, because you had to fish, apparently fish and Froggy, and it was annoying. So I think if Big was to return in Sonic Adventure 3, I think he should be an NPC character instead. So then he's like one of those mission ones where you can, like it's optional. I mean, you don't actually have to do the fishing missions if you don't want to. Like, you could choose to do his fishing if you want to. If you want to, like, get something from him. To actually, like some sort of item or something like that, depending on what he would give you, like a challenge or whatever, like saying, oh, you have to have this challenge to catch this or catch that, something like that, I think would be better for Big. So that's one. So apparently there's also a possibility of other characters maybe showing up. Maybe like a new character or something in the Adventure Spotlight. Now, I actually want to see Cream as a playable character. The reason is, she could actually have some sort of gameplay mechanic. So when you're actually doing, in like say Sonic Adventure 2, and you're finding a bunch of Chow, like one Chow or something in each stage, something like that, but what to do with Cream, where she actually has to find all these Chow, you know what I mean, because it'd be part of her mission or something like that, like a story or something, like she has to find them because, they've all gone missing or something like that. I think that would be a good idea, and I also think the Chow Garden, if they made one, would be like 10 times bigger or something. That would mean more stuff to do with the Chow. I also think that, I'd be able to teach them more things and such. Maybe even like a mobile game to do with the Chows as well. So then, like, if you're on the go, you can like train them that way as well. Like if you're not actually in the house, which would be a good idea, but when you're actually back, that Chow would actually its levels would increase or something like that, meaning its stats would have gone up. So depending on how you treat the Chow, then that's basically how the Chow would behave or something like that, like having some sort of personality. So like say you treat your Chow with kindness, that means that Chow would be like, happy or whatever, like with kindness. But if you treat your Chow with like disloyalty or something like that, then most likely it would turn dark. And it would just start to disrespect you or something like that. Or might actually just sulk most of the time. So that's another possibility. And the other qualities is, because not depending on the faces of the chow when they hatch, they usually get those personalities or something like that. So depending on what it's like, it could be like that. So the ones with the big massive grins could be the ones that are mischievous. The cheeky ones. The ones that basically have no mouth could be the ones that the ones that are just shy, which I think could be one of those. And then the ones with like the smile downwards, like don't actually have a smile. The ones that actually, the ones that just basically are not mostly happy. So there's that. But the ones with like the up smiles or whatever would usually, the ones that would usually want to hug. So they'd want to like a massive hug or something like that. Even like the mischievous chow could do that. So they would put their arms up when they see you and start running towards you, which would be pretty funny. And then you'd have some chows which just constantly cry because why? Because the crybabies. Because that's actually a personality in Sonic Adventure 2. You actually do have one called, like a personality trait called a crybaby. The funny thing is they always cry and they're harder to mate because of that. So I think changing that so they can mate is a good idea. So I also think that say you basically have two chow parents, and say for example one's a Sonic chow, one's a Shadow chow, and apparently you breed them and they end up like a mix, a mix of like two of them, so they end up looking a bit more different, like a hybrid sort of chow. So depending on what you breed together, it would actually end up looking a bit different than their parents. So that means they could be a lot faster and such. They actually would have the abilities from those parents or something like that. So the stats would have gone up rapidly from actually hatching. So that chow, depending on basically that chow, for example, the parents, like say the parent actually has like a lot of high stats and then the other one actually has a lot of high stats, so the child would actually have like half of like each, so it's basically so it's actually sort of like that in a way, so that would be a good idea. So apparently I am excited on these Adventure 3 news. A lot actually are saying that they should remake Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 first, because of the current Sonic team, because they're worried that they might ruin the remakes. Sonic Adventure 3, they might ruin it with the current Sonic team, or even like ruin the remakes. So there's that. But I'm hoping they don't mess it up, because it's one of those. I do actually have some sort of respect for like Sega rather than Sony. It's funny because Sega actually do go back to something and eventually and think, yeah, okay, yeah, we'll do it now. Like, take House of the Dead, for example. I know they were part of House of the Dead. So, for the remake, I definitely think some of their workers actually did work on House of the Dead remake. So I actually do think that, they listen to the fans in a way eventually. They do actually listen. They see messages and such, and they think eventually when the time is right, they think, yeah, okay, we'll do it. So apparently, some actually think that oh, you have to play Frontiers before you decide, before the CEO decides to make Sonic Adventure 3. Well, the answer to that is no, because the best thing is to not actually go towards Sonic Frontiers because reasons. Because supporting a game that's say for example, you're supporting Sonic Frontiers, it would mean more to another game that isn't Sonic Adventure, because look at Forces. That did exactly the same thing. Because of how successful it was, the CEO didn't decide to make, a Sonic Adventure. He just shelved it under something, because of how successful Sonic Forces was, even though it didn't really look successful. So, so there was that. Yeah, so, apparently I actually think if a game doesn't do that well, that means the next game might do better. Because that means they're looking on something that might work. So they actually are thinking about the venture mechanic, trying to work it out. But I'm hoping they don't add the boost to Sonic Adventure 3 because I don't like the boost. I hate the boost. Like, whatever basically has the boost in it, I don't class it as an adventure game. Now, there's a reason I don't actually think that Sonic 06 is an adventure game, because it's missing one feature that the other two had, and that is Chow. A Chow Garden. Sonic 06 never had a Chow Garden, so I don't count it as the adventure series, even though some do, and I'm like, no. Yeah, it's not an Adventure 3, so I don't count it, because it doesn't have those mechanics, you know what I mean, it doesn't have the Chows in it and such, so there's that. So apparently, some said, like, Unleashed, and I was like, no, that's not an adventure game either. So, apparently I'm, like, telling, a lot that, there's only 2 adventure games because they had Chow in them, and then someone would probably say, oh, what about Sonic, Chronicles or something like that, and I'm like, or was it Brotherhood or something like that. So apparently that one is more, even though that one does have Chow, it's not really an adventure game, to be honest, because it's missing the adventure style formula. So I'm actually hoping, Sega do actually make a good Sonic Adventure 3 game, make a good boss, that doesn't look boring unlike Frontiers' bosses, because I know Eggman is the main focus of the first 2 adventure games, as well, so, because in number 1, it was the main focus because he was teaming up with Chaos until the very end, so Chaos ended up being the big bad. And then in Adventure 2, Shadow and Eggman and Rouge were like the main focus until like they got to the end. So in the end, it was the Bio Lizard that ended up as the big focus in the end. So they had to take that down. So that was basically mainly Sonic Adventure 2. So Sonic Adventure 3 could again be around Eggman again, but like someone new, maybe like a new villain or something like that. Or an old villain that we've probably seen before, that we actually end up seeing again. Someone that actually could be a great villain in like a series or something. Now, I'm actually thinking the perfect villain, I think, there is a list of possibilities, but I don't think Metal Sonic would be one of them. So I think maybe Tails Doll. The last time we had Tails Doll in a game was, well, I'm gonna say Minecraft. Last time we had Tails Doll in a game was Minecraft because he was in the Sonic world. Apparently, he was like on like a shelf or something like that. So up to now, Tails Doll has been in 2 games. It would be good for him to make an appearance in like a 3rd Sonic game. it's like a Sonic Adventure 3 apparently. So I think he could be the big bad. I think because I have seen what Tails doll can do. So from early in the comics, he is known as a mind control robot. So he can actually mind control people like zombies, which is a good mechanic of his because he uses his antenna to control others and such. He also does get people to. He also does actually trick somebody to like anybody. You could trick that one person to to actually bother with him. It's kind of like Chucky a little bit because it's kind of similar. But with that Annabelle vibe to it, it's kind of like a mix. So it kind of like he looks innocent, but he's really not innocent at all. He always usually carries around a knife because that's part of his programming. Eggman doesn't like his programming because, he finds him completely useless. So I actually have seen his transformation. And it looks scary when he does transform from Tails doll to this big massive monster, robotic monster. It's like a virus inside his body when he becomes it. It's actually a great one because he is powerful, but Eggman just didn't know how powerful he actually was. So something like that would have been a good idea, I think. So I'm hoping that that he actually ends up like that. So I'm actually hoping the version of Shadow, I think, should actually be the one from like 06. You know what I mean? Like when he actually was more serious and and he was protected of his friends. You know what I mean? Very protective over them. Because the example is Rouge actually wanted to touch an emerald, right? Shadow was like, no, don't touch it. Yeah, because Shadow was protecting Rouge and whatever, and then when Rouge actually got hit, Shadow saved her life because he's not a jerk. So that's the type of Shadow I want to see in Sonic Adventure 3. I want to see him with that serious tone. You know what I mean? Not the jokesy type person. You know what I mean? The one that actually does talk like he was in 06 and whatever. Like he knows his past and whatever. He knows everything. He knows he has to save the world. No matter, what his promise was, that's what his promise is to Maria. He actually helps save the planet, you know what I mean? Over and over and over again, no matter how many times it took to save it. So Shadow would always have that thing, even looking at his rival. Even looking at his rival Sonic from time to time, he started to not actually hate Sonic as much as he used to. So he started to actually get along with Sonic a bit more because they worked together in Sonic Adventure 2. They actually did work together. So they, especially in Sonic Adventure 3, they did work together. Like, 06, So, for example, Sonic gets beaten down, so there's more to it. So Silver is actually beating up Sonic, and Shadow does not stand that. So he stands in the way of Silver, so he doesn't like it whatsoever. Silver is pissed because Shadow got in the way. So it's sort of like that, because whenever Shadow sees someone, in danger, he's like, yeah, I'm jumping in. So apparently that's the type of Shadow I like, because, he's learned everything over the games. Like, in Sonic Adventure 2, he does suffer from amnesia back then, whatever, but he builds up to that as he learns everything. Especially in Shadow the Hedgehog, he starts to learn a lot more about his past. So he learns everything, and then by 06 he knows everything because, he knows who he really is. And he knows who his family is. So it's like he sees like most characters as like like friends or something like that. So he's, in a way, he's not a complete jerk when it comes to them. The only one he sees as an enemy at the moment, and a couple of others, is probably like Eggman. He sees Eggman as a villain. A couple of times he has actually wanted to hurt Eggman. So there's that, but he also has actually asked Eggman a couple of times for like answers or something, you know what I mean, to like ask for something. So in a way, he's still learning a lot more as time goes on, and I think it would be important if Shadow learning a lot more than he did. You know what I mean, something like that. So that would be excellent to like Shadow to like you know, have a bit more as well to the story in Sonic Adventure 3 and such. So apparently characters would get like a sort of like story element going on there. So apparently, yeah, that's basically the type of Shadow I want back, or whatever. You know, instead of the one we got in well, you get the idea. The one that, apparently, you know, the one that just looks like he's not interested or something like that. The one that type, you know, that actually can make jokes sometimes when he just wants to mock Sonic, you know what I mean? Sometimes, not always. Because Shadow does mock Sonic sometimes, just not always, but he can mock him if he wants to. But most of the time he's more serious. So apparently that's the type we want, you know what I mean? Like, even if someone's in trouble, he just not ignore them. Like he did in like he did in the Sonic story, like when Rouge wanted help, Shadow was like, no. So, the reason I say this, when it happens is because Shadow is a team player, but when it comes to a race, no. Shadow's like, no, I don't care. So apparently that's what makes Shadow funny, because, he knows he wants to beat Sonic at his own game. He knows Sonic mocks him, from time to time. He does get in a mood from time to time because of Sonic. And he basically thinks that just racing, without a team is a good idea. So apparently it's pretty funny, because that means he's like, yeah, I'm just going to kick your ass at racing. So apparently it's pretty funny, because so apparently someone did say that, I think it was someone in Say or something like that, said that Team Dark doesn't exist, and it does, for a reason, because Shadow, Rouge, and Omega do connect as like a family. So like, Rouge is kind of like, you know, like a little sister to Shadow, and Omega is kind of like, you know, like a brother to Shadow, when you look at it. So it's kind of like Omega was adopted or something like that. So in a way, they all connect in a funny way, especially in the comics. They're actually funny together, depending on which comic you look at. Yeah, so I hope they actually bring, so I actually hope they do Sonic Adventure 3 perfectly, well, and whatever, and it does great and such, and it doesn't end up with problems or something like that, and I hope they keep the boost out of it, so that means no boost, and just keep the hub world adventure style, where you just like have to build up momentum and whatever, which I like the most, because that means I would get it if it just had that and whatever, but like, you know, like, more levels to do, the game would feel bigger, and such, yeah.